Previously on Did You Know Doji.
It's so sad to see Tony Hawk franchise have 7 great games and then have this horrible thing come out, and it was only downhill from there. I mean, really, how could something like this happen? But who knows, maybe there's some good Tony Hawk game in the woodwork waiting to be created soon. Or maybe I'm just overthinking things. We'll see. Some good Tony Hawk game in the woodwork. Some good Tony Hawk game in the woodwork.
Some good Tony Hawk game in the woodwork.
Ha! Point 1 for Psychic Doji. I told you this game was coming. I told you. I'm just not sure how good it's gonna be though. So, since Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 is coming out, I thought, why not talk about one of the greatest games in the series so far? Probably one of the best games to ever come out in a long time. None other than Tony Hawk's Proving Grounds. Now I'm just kidding, that game sucks. I'm gonna tell you why it's one of the worst Tony Hawk games of all time, and probably one of the worst games of all time. So forget review, forget analysis, this is just a full out rant. I'm going to tell you why this game sucks so hard. So you sit right there and enjoy this video.
Tony Hawk, a pro skater and father, but we're here to mainly talk about the pro skater part. I mean, he didn't make a game called Tony Hawk Pro Family, man. But either way, around the 90s, Tony Hawk had a hand in creating the first skating game to become great and successful. Prior to this, there were games like Skate or Die, ESPN Extreme, or even rocket-powered Beach Bandits. Don't play this game. But none were truly able to capture the essence of skating, whether it was limited graphics at the time or simply most people creating the games weren't exactly people who loved skating. The games were good for what they were and for their time, but would become forgotten in time. However, Tony Hawk was able to make games that seemed to perfect the skating element and would create games such as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, Tony Hawk's Underground, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, the list goes on. But after 7 great games, we would begin to see the decline of these games, and how the greatness that had been seen in these games was being lost. So for the longest time, Tony Hawk had been a game based on outlandish tricks and moves, and usually a crazy story to go along with these antics.
Now, when I think about this Tony Hawk game, 3 words come to my mind. Innovation, creativity, and fun. Now, let's take all those words, put them in this bag real quick, and toss it out the window. Because we're not going to need those words for this game. No, not at all. There you go. We're not going to need you for this. Now let's get back into the review, shall we?
Okay, but let's start from the beginning. Now, Tony Hawk's Proving Ground starts off like you would expect. You create your character. Close enough? And guide him through the story, which is separated into 3 parts: career, rigging, and hardcore. And here's where the problem starts. In games prior, the story used to be so interesting, taking you along for a crazy story filled with twists and turns and a character that you begin to feel an attachment for. But with this game, I don't feel that. Now, the different game types don't really feel at all different. In career, essentially, your goal is to become the best skater, winning competitions and whatnot. But even with winning these competitions, I don't feel like I've had any struggle or determination that drives me to feel like, yeah, I'm going somewhere with this. They all really just feel like hollow victories that I don't really even know why I wanted them in the beginning. Now, the hardcore missions are a bit different. Basically, your goal is to be rough and tough, and I guess that's kind of cool. And the rigging missions, I'm not even going to talk about them. These missions were the worst. I had no interest in them whatsoever. I don't know who thought of these missions, but man, they are awful. Maybe if there was more variety in creating new skatable objects, it'd be more interesting, but they didn't even go into it. So pretty much what I'm saying is, it sucks. So let's move on. Now, one of the features that was supposed to sell the newer Tony Hawk games was the fact that motion capture was used to make tricks look more realistic. And initially, that's not a bad idea, but the fact of the matter is, Tony Hawk games became famous for how unrealistic they were. When this now becomes the main focus that the game is based around, it leaves for a lackluster experience, not to mention the control scheme that goes along with it. When I press left and square, I don't feel like I'm doing a kickflip. I just feel like I press left and square. Now, since we're talking about this game, let's address the elephant in the room. Skate. Now, some people might say comparing Tony Hawk to Skate is like comparing apples to oranges, but in my opinion, that's not the case, because clearly after Skate came into the scene, Tony Hawk felt like they had to compete and become better than Skate, rather than staying in their own lane as being an unrealistic, crazy skating game. Don't believe me? Don't think that this is true? Then what, my friend, is this? Yeah, I know you remember. Don't try and forget this happened. Proof enough that Tony Hawk was trying to keep up and make the whole realistic skating aspect a part of its formula, when that's never what it was meant to be. Now let's briefly talk about why Skate does this better. Now first off, Skate's mechanics are set up just for that. Realistic skating, making the analog sticks perfect controller for the way your tricks work. But that's obvious. I feel for Skate, it sets up a realistic vibe of skating. With Tony Hawk, most of the time, you'll set up a trick and land it perfectly. 9 times out of 10 at least. But this is not so in Skate. You'll probably fail on different occasions, but for some reason it doesn't get boring or frustrating. It just feels realistic, and it makes it that much more satisfying when you land your kickflip no slide out or your 360 flip down a 10 stair. It all seems to work just right in that game. Basically what I'm saying is Tony Hawk isn't made for realistic skating. It really just isn't in its lane. Now, like I previously stated, the story mode is a problem, but even more specifically, your main character is partially the main problem as well. I don't know who he is, and honestly, I don't know if I'd care to know, because he's just a surface level character. It seems like he doesn't even know what his purpose is in the game. He's just there doing what he's supposed to because that's just how the story goes. And even when you get sponsored, it feels like nothing happened. Moments that are supposed to feel special in this game just don't. I'm not sure if it's the bad storytelling or simply the fact that throughout the game you just don't care. And I mean seriously, you just could care less what happens to anything or anyone in this game. It makes the game difficult to continue playing. If it weren't for the sake of this review, I honestly probably wouldn't have even finished this game. So what does that tell you about it? Another aspect that feels lacking in this game is the music. Now, Tony Hawk is known for having amazing soundtrack with songs from people like Metallica, Living Legends, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Dead Kennedys, the list goes on. Now, because of YouTube's copyright policy, you can't play any of these songs, but for me the soundtrack in this game is mediocre. Even though some of the songs are for well-known artists, I feel the songs that they picked were, well, mediocre. So overall, what I'm trying to say about this game is simply that it's boring and uninteresting. In all honesty, the game works, the controls are fine and responsive, never did I feel like anything happened unfairly or the controls weren't responsive. And the game looks fine too, the graphics are fine and clear, even though Tony Hawk looks kinda like a corpse, and maybe they could have used a brighter color palette, but this game goes to show that good graphics and tight controls don't make a good game. What this game lacks overall is character. Nothing about this game is truly special. It just feels like a game thrown together to try and fulfill a quota, and there weren't any risks taken. Not that there really needed to be, however there just doesn't seem to be any soul put into this game. But after 8 games and being under Activision control, I guess what'd you really expect? Go figure.
So, to put it basically, this game sucks. But it's not in the realm of like Sonic 06, where I feel that the franchise is unsalvageable. Honestly, I feel like Tony Hawk can make a comeback, but the problem is it just needs to stick into its lane. Because for the most part, this game isn't broken or unplayable, it's just mediocre. So much mediocrity put into one place, it just gets unbearable after a while. Nothing exciting to come from it. But, who knows? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 is coming out, so maybe Tony Hawk can make a comeback. And maybe we'll begin to see the franchise I once loved come back. But, of course, I'm Doji. Now you know. Thank you so very much for watching. Bye. Well, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 is out. Why don't we look up some gameplay and see what it looks like? No. No. Not like this. Tony Hawk, you don't have any competition anymore. All you had to do was put out a good game. No. 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 You maniacs. You burned it up. Darn you. Darn you all to heck. No.